Hey there everybody, and welcome back to RHEM. We've been exploring the deep caverns here, and we discovered a couple of interesting things in the last video. The first one, and probably the most important thing, is that we're actually not alone. We just saw a woman in a red dress walk by this window here earlier. Now, we don't really know if she knows we're here, or if she's watching us, or what, but it kind of changes a lot. And you know, when I first played this game, I was legitimately startled by that. Like, I was not expecting it at all. So yeah, it was a big surprise. The other thing is that we discovered this device here. I'm going to call it a thermometer since it seems to measure some kind of temperature. I say some kind of temperature because I still don't really know of a good name for this symbol. I'm just calling it a bowl. I guess it's kind of like a sickle type thingy. You know what? I'll call it a sickle. I don't care. And before we move on, I just kind of wanted to point out what I forgot to point out in the last video, which is that when we start lowering it down, it begins at 300 degrees, and with each consecutive horseshoe measurements of length, the temperature raises 3 degrees. Now remember that, that's going to be important later on. Whoops. But for now, I'm going to go back and check out the rotating cylinder, because we haven't actually seen whether or not the path that runs through it can go this direction. Thankfully we've got a rotation button here, and there is something on the other side, so that is good news. Now, we've got a couple ladders we can explore. As always, I'll take the leftmost one first. Seems like it just leads into another sponge-filled hallway. That doesn't look like a room we've been to before. Now this looks interesting. Seems like a stick figure with a blue dot for an eye and some red and green pimples on his legs. Let's remember where these are placed. They could become important later. In the meantime, though, I want to see what's up that other ladder before we move on. Okay, so this is yet another one of those roll-up window things, and if this is what I think it is, then this should be the one right behind the button we pressed in the room atop the rotating cylinder when we first got up there. Remember I said when we press the button, oh, we'll have to keep an eye out for another spongy-looking wall. Well, it looks like this is it, because this is kind of curved, and it seems to have an equation. So to solve for z, we're going to need to take the square root of the difference between the product of a and b squared. Alright. And here we got a couple of other buttons that turn on stuff. And it looks like this wall is the one that was in the arrival center. Of course, there were some things there that didn't work, so we're going to have to go back there and see what we turned on now, since there were quite a few things, it seemed like, that weren't powered up. Alright, I think we've pretty much done everything we can do here, at least for now, so I'm going to go ahead and head back. The first stop I want to make is I want to go back through the rotating cylinder into the area where the combination locks. Because we've got our guide to solving that puzzle now. We found out what each of the pin combinations corresponds with, number-wise. Wait a minute. We opened this up, didn't we? Okay. Now, we remember on the other side of this thing, there wasn't just a button that opened up this rolled-up window. There was also some sort of thing in a frame, kind of like this. It looks like we raised something up on the other side. We can kind of see through it here, but we can't really see what it is. But we've seen similar things like this around the caverns, so we're going to have to go back there and check out what we just did. But first, I want to check out this combination lock here, since now we know what this is all about. So let's go ahead and solve this one. Now remember, like I mentioned in the last video, each of the pin or the hole positions that we saw in the numbers need to be mirrored here, since the numbers were turned around when we were looking at them from behind. So this pin combination would have been here and then over here in its corresponding number. And this number is the one, or this pin combination is the one for the number 4. Looks like it runs across and over here, and it appears to be the middle number, so we'll turn this to 4. Let's see the second number. This one is for the number 1. And we just need to trace the path here. It looks like this is the middle wire. I called it a pipe in the last video, but I really should just call it a wire. And it goes here, and this is already set to 1, so that is already done. This one has pins in the corners, which is for the number 0. So let's see, this one goes here to the left, curves around, goes up top before it ends up here. So we're going to go all the way around the horn for this one. And this is kind of slow. I know, first world problems. Alright, the fourth number is for 7. Now we only got 2 left, so I suppose we could brute force it, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to solve this properly. And that goes to this one. So that means that we got this number is the 4th number, since it's the only one left, and this corresponds with the number 5. So let's go ahead and trace it. It's the top wire, and it goes here, of course. That should be the combination. Let's see what's in here. Okay, we've got yet another equation. This time, we are supposed to solve for x. And x equals the quotient of the difference between the sum of a plus the quotient of b divided by 2, all of which is cubed, and z divided by 2, and all of that is divided by the difference between a squared plus b squared minus 2b minus a. Okay. It would really help if we knew what a and b were, because we need those to solve for z in the first place. But in the meantime, let's see what this does. Okay, so this shifts something over there. That was the thermometer we lowered, and now we've got this thing. Well, let's leave that there. We don't really know what that thing is, but let's see if the other room might offer an answer. If this goes into the same area, then hopefully it will have something to do with this. But we need to figure out the code first, so let's see here. The nice thing about this one is that we can kind of tell where each of them go. I mean, this is obviously the first number, and this is the second one, the third one, the fourth one, and this is the 5th one. So let's start with number 1. We know that number 1 is 3. That one's pretty much a gimme. The second one is where things get kind of tricky, along with the third one, because these two numbers here are the pin combination that is used for both 2 and 8. So there are 4 possible combinations this could go: 2, 2, 8, 8, 8, 2, or 2, 8. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit unfortunate that that's the case, but we'll just cross that bridge when we get there. This one, let's see, number 4 would be this one, sorry. This one right here, thankfully we know what this is. This is number 9, I think. Yeah, this is number 9. And then finally that leaves number 5, which is this one here with the 2 on the side. And that is number 6. So basically we've got 3 and then either 2, 2, 8, 8, 2, 8, or 8, 2, 9, 6. So let's try. Let's try 3, 2, 8, 9, 6. Alright, did that work? It didn't. Okay, so let's try 3, 8, 2, 9, 6. We used all the other numbers, so it kind of makes sense that we'd use both. There we go. Good deal. The nice thing is that we don't actually have to open these again. Or at least we don't have to use the combination locks again, I should say. And here's an important thing that we need to take note of. B equals 4. That's good. We've got one of the numbers we need for the equations, so that helps. Okay, so here we've got a little note here telling us that we need 412 degrees in the CN units in order to power this. I guess we need to power this up to 100%. And right here we can lower this down. We can also see over into the other chamber where we lower the thermometer down. Now, there's something rather important to note about this, and I'm not going to waste time demonstrating this for you guys just because I don't want to do a lot of back and forthing. But you see up here that there's a symbol, and we've seen this symbol before. It's the one that's used to represent this coil thing that we just lowered down here. What this is signifying is that this mechanism is specifically for lowering this item down. And you'll notice over on the other side, you may have seen earlier that there was a different symbol up here on this thing, and that was supposed to represent the thermometer. So in other words, if I were to go over there right now, let's just say I raised this whole thing up and I went over there, that would actually not work. And the same would be true if I were to just walk right over to the switch and change this to the thermometer and try to operate this. It wouldn't work either. So this kind of presents a little bit of a dilemma for us, because we need to get 412 of these CN units as a temperature, right? The problem is that if we are to use the coil to power things up, we don't have a temperature readout on here. And if we were to go over to the thermometer, the temperature readout there is in a completely different set of units than it is in the set of units that we need, that we were given over here, that is. Additionally, the distance units used over there are different from the distance units used over here. Well, this is where the scales, or the rules rather, that are used in the arrival center come into play. Remember, the scale ratio used for the temperature was 1 to 1.5. 1 CN to 1.5 sickles. So, I'm not going to waste time going over back to the thermometer and doing that all over again just to show you what the depth was that we need, because we've already calculated a formula that we can use right here to do that. Now, we need a temperature of 412 degrees in terms of CNs, right? If we were to multiply that by 1.5, we would get 618. Now remember, when the whole thing starts going down, it starts at 300. So we just need to add 318 extra degrees on top of that. Now, I hope you're tracking with me, because remember, for each set of 3 degrees, we lowered the thermometer by 1 horseshoe distance unit. So that means that if we were to divide 318 by 3, we lowered it a total of 106 units if we were to get that exact temperature. So now all we need to do is we just need to convert the 106 horseshoe units into some number of these eighth rest units. Now the scale ratio for that was 1 horseshoe to 3.5 eighth rests. So all we need to do is just multiply 106 by 3.5 and we get 371. So that's all we need to do to lower this down. We just need to hold this button down until we get to 371. I gotta admit, I really liked this puzzle a lot when I first played the game. It was kind of a little bit confusing at first, and I was a little bit tripped up by the whole you can't lower down a different thing than what the control panel was designed for trick, but once I figured that out, it was just a matter of just getting the conversion rates down and just figuring out what I needed to do. It was just about 3 steps in the end, but getting to that realization took a little while. At any rate, we can just listen to the sound of this coil thing going down. Almost there. Let's see if I can stop it right on the button. Got it. Alright. Now we just need to find a way to turn it on. Here we go. And it looks like something worked. We got the power running. Awesome. Sweet. Alright, before we get out of here, there's something we need to look at first. Remember, we switched this thing on up here. So I'm going to go ahead and head back up here to the top floor of the rotating cylinder and rotate it again toward this side. I want to see what's on the other side of that thing. Okay, looks like we raised this little circle, or concentric circle thing, rather, up here. There are 4 concentric circles, I guess 5 if you count the blue one. But in terms of the circles that are this width, not in terms of diameter, but you know, this amount of width, this one is highlighted. There are 4 of them, and this one's highlighted in red, and it looks like we've got some sort of angle here. It appears to be 135 degrees. If this were to be 90 degrees, then this is an additional 45, so 135 degree angle. And the red circle is the first one from the inside. We don't really know where we're going to use that, of course, but again, it's a clue that we're going to have to take note of later on, and we're going to be seeing a lot of that throughout the game. Okay, so we've pretty much taken care of all the stuff that we can take care of for now in that area, so let's continue onward, because we haven't even looked at what's over here yet. Over here we can kind of get a bit of a view of where we came in. And this button raises this gate from downstairs up here. Now, this appears to have another one of those circle things. We saw this from downstairs earlier, but now that we know what these things are, we definitely want to check this out. So if we can find a mechanism to manipulate that in some way, that would be awesome. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and head back downstairs since we've unblocked that path now. Alright, we got another one of these stick figure drawings here. And this time, we can see something a little bit different here. Notice that there are actually squares highlighted that are not the colored ones. We've got a total of, let's see, 8 squares all in all, and 2 of them are highlighted. Now remember, in the last diagram that we saw that was shaped like this one and 2 of the ones on the legs were highlighted. So that pretty much means that we've just got to find 3 more colors. I guess this one and the other 2 legs. Okay, so we've got a ladder over here. What did that do? That sounds like it just lowered something. Did it lower? Aha, here we go. And that should allow us to view the circle thing from the other side. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to manipulate this again. That's kind of the thing about these games. You have to do a little bit of back and forthing. So I know that I'm kind of taking the fast routes here, but I'm trying to minimize the back and forthing as much as possible because I know it can be kind of a little annoying. And I didn't mean to do that. We don't actually need that anymore. We can just always go back here from this point on. So I wonder what we powered. I mean, I guess we'll find out in a little while. But for now, let's take a look at this clue here. We've got another angle, which appears to be 45 degrees. And this time it's the 3rd concentric circle that's from the center being highlighted. So if we're supposed to get diagrams for all 4 concentric circles, then we've got just 2 more to go. We're halfway there right now. I almost started rotating the room again. But for now, let's check out what's over here. Because there's more to look at that we haven't even seen yet. Alright, we've got a path that way, but I'm going to stick with my going left strategy for now. Now, this area looks familiar. This is the part of the facility that we saw from the other side when we were looking at that board. And I remarked that we may have activated something inside this room when we were over in that room with the picture of the moon in it. And it looks like this is it. We raised this roll-up window here, and now we can raise this doohickey for another circle clue. Now, we've got some kind of diagram here detailing some kind of mechanism, as well as a map that labels where this A and B and C stuff is. I'm going to come back to this later on. I'm not really going to worry about it for now. But, for the time being, I'm going to go back to the arrival center. Because we've powered up some stuff over there, and we haven't looked at it yet, so I want to check it out first. I will say one thing, the nice thing about at least the first part of this game is that all the stuff you need to reach is within a pretty reasonable walking distance. It does make the back and forthing a little bit more tolerable. Alright, does this thing work now? Not yet, but considering that it's connected to this device, it's probably going to work only when we put the little piece of paper in there. So, yeah. Alright, that's where the thermometer was. Aha, well look what we've got here. We've powered up the picture with the houses on it, and now we can see that 3 of them are lit up. 1 in each house. That still doesn't work. Over here though, we've got another clue for the clock hatch. The first 3 buttons to press are the ones at 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 1 o'clock. So we should have all the information we need to solve that puzzle at this point. So what are we supposed to do with this? Well, remember, we saw those posts around the cavern that had the various numbers in them. And each of these squares in the posts corresponds with a window in each of these houses. This one right here is supposed to represent 10, this one is 2, and this one is 11. Now, we saw a combination lock that was connected to this thing. So let's go ahead and input those 3 numbers in here. I gotta admit, I was actually kind of stumped on this because I didn't realize that the thing went above 9. Yeah, I didn't experiment with this much, and as a result it was kind of, I felt really silly once I discovered the solution. At any rate though, this whole thing seems to connect to this key thing, so let's see if we can open it. No, we can't open it. Does it connect to this? There we go. And we get a literal key, as well as another moon picture. And sure enough, this is the one for west, which should have the syllable west on the back. There we go. So where can we use that key? For some reason it's kind of lagging on me here. There we go. Well, remember, there was a locked cabinet over here. Let's see what's inside. Oh. Uh-oh. Guys, she's onto us. It fits. And we've got another equation here. Y equals the quotient of the difference between a squared and b and the square root of x. This, however, looks a little bit more colorful. We've got some sort of combination here. This seems to suggest that we're supposed to press these buttons in order first, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then after that, the first set of buttons, we move on to these colored buttons. Now, where have we seen something like this before? Well, we saw that there is a mechanism here that displays colors in a completely random order, and those happen to be the exact same colors on that piece of paper. This mechanism is also connected to some sort of safe or cabinet thing, another one of these roll-up mechanisms. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure I take a note of what each of these is. I wasn't doing that. Alright, there we go. Alright, so as you can see by the diagram in the cabinet over there, or the locked cabinets, it tells us which of the buttons correspond to which colors, but the randomizer tells us what order to press the colors in. So let's start with the first set of numbers that are always going to be the same. We've got 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then we get the colors. We've got purple, green, red, yellow, and then blue. Wait, that didn't work? I thought that was a combination. Okay, let's reset it again. We had purple, red, blue, green, yellow. Okay. Let's see if this works. I must have just mixed up some colors last time. Let me just make sure that my notes are right. I may have accidentally mistyped or miswrote something here. Yellow, red, blue, green, purple. Yep, it's right. I don't know what went wrong over there. Anyway, let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and then we've got purple, which is this. Then red, which is this. And then blue, which is this. Green, and then yellow. That sounds like a good sound. And here we get a map of the whole area. Well, it's kind of a little bit too late for that, but this is probably the more important thing. It appears to be the second half of this thing, and together they kind of look like some sort of beetle or something. And we've actually seen something like this before, haven't we? Over in the moon picture room. Not this moon picture room where we're standing, but the room with the framed photo of the moon that we visited quite a while back. Anyway, in the next video, we're going to check out that clock hatch, because now we've got a lead we can follow up on with that, and we're going to go back to the moon room and see what we can unlock behind that door. So I will see you guys then. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and next time we will take on even more. If you enjoyed the video and you had fun watching it today, be sure to hit that like button, and I will see you on the flip side, guys. Take care, and I'll catch you then.